it's me, Canadensis, and today's video is going to be a just chatting video about Monster High. So if you're new to my channel, or if you just haven't seen one of these yet, I just sit here and I'm gonna talk about dolls, and it's not gonna be very formal, and it's gonna be kind of all over the place. If you're not for that, that's totally fine. I have plenty of other videos that are a lot more formal than this that you can check out, or you can go to another channel. No harm, no foul. It's totally fine. So today's video, the specific topic is how I would reboot Monster High, how I would have handled the Monster High reboot. And this is really just a fun exercise. I'm not an expert in this. I'm a doll collector. I liked dolls when Monster High first came out. Monster High is what got me into dolls. This is just for fun. I'm not an industry professional, nor am I going to claim to be. These are just my ideas, and as a collector, and even as a 10-year-old who first discovered Monster High, these are things that I think would be really cool to see implemented. I also have to get out of the way that I am a reboot defender. The original reboot, I actually really liked. And then the current reboot, these, I also actually really like the look of them so far. So if you're just here to bash the reboot, bye, because that's not what I'm here for. Okay. So this is something that's been gnawing at my brain for a long time, because with Bratz and Monster High both, I feel like they've been fumbling this a little bit, and I'll explain why. Monster High specifically, so with Bratz, they're doing a lot of reproductions that are pretty regular retail releases, you know, you can get them and that's fine. And then they're doing designer collabs, which have this they have this facade of actually being really limited, like, ooh, you have to get these GCDS dolls right now or you won't get them, but they're not. Like, they will be everywhere soon, which is actually quite nice. The only ones that I haven't seen re-release, and maybe it's just because I wasn't paying attention, are the Jimmy Paul ones, but I don't know. With Monster High, we have a bit of a more difficult case. They started doing collector dolls of horror movie characters, but these aren't technically Monster High dolls. Like, that to me didn't count as like a Monster High reboot. They were just a Mattel Creations thing. Mattel Creations just does that with all of their brand IPs, and it doesn't mean anything towards an actual comeback of the series. So they started doing those, and those were actually pretty interesting, and it was pretty cool to see them. And then they started doing actual reproductions this year. Yeah, it was this year. It was early this year, so in early 2022. And again, through their Mattel Creations website, they have been doing Haute Couture. They also did a limited release of the Cree Productions dolls, which are just the Wave 1 dolls re-released, and these were actually really cool. I didn't realize that they were limited at the time, so I'm still missing Draculaura. And they haven't re-released them since in a way that I've been able to find them, so that's fun. And these were also sold on Mattel Creations for a little bit as well. I think they were a little bit higher of a price on Mattel Creations. So overall, so far, since like the original ending of the original Monster High reboot, this is the first time we're seeing Monster High dolls coming back, and they're all targeted at the adult collector, which I find very interesting, and this is something Mattel does a lot. If you look at the Masters of the Universe line, they've been doing the Masters of the Universe classics for a long time, and they've been actually quite successful with those, and those are super interesting. And it's because there's a difference between a regular retail store release and an adult collector release that is completely contained within their own market website that they create. So the biggest difference here is when you do a regular retail store release, you have to listen to the retailer, you have to abide by their rules, your price point, you're not going to be making as much of a profit margin most likely, and you have to make a ton of units. If you want to sell something to Walmart, usually they want a certain amount per store, so you're making a ton of these dolls. So you can't really just feed a little bit out in the market to test the waters, you have to go all in. But I find it interesting that they actually did a limited run of these. They had store displays for them, though. So that's something, but yeah, they definitely were testing the waters with this a little bit, which is interesting. I wonder if that had been Mattel's idea or Walmart's idea, because it does seem like they manufactured more than the Walmart ones since they were on Mattel Creations' website. And then, okay, so through an adult collector website like Mattel Creations, you're getting to do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about a store. You don't have to worry about somebody else telling you what you can do with the dolls. So it's actually quite interesting, but it's for an adult audience. It's really difficult to get adult collector things to actually sell at regular retail at Walmart. If you find those, like, I call it the nerd section, where they put like the NECA figures, where they put pop vinyls, stuff like that at Walmart and Target, you can see them. I buy the NECA figures anytime an interesting one comes out from one of those stores, so I'm one of the people that actually shops in that section. But if you look, stuff doesn't move in that section at all unless it's a highly anticipated or highly scalped release. And this is why. Adult collectors are actually a very large market, but they're extremely spread out, and you got to be able to get the product to them. So Mattel Creations is actually a perfect way to do that. The problem with Mattel Creations, though, is that website, clearly, I guess it's worked in the past. I don't know. I don't collect Hot Wheels or any of the other things that they do. My dad used to get the Masters of the Universe Classics dolls figures off of there, and I think there was a subscription for those, so they would just automatically send them to you or something. I don't 100% recall. That was through my dad, but I never heard of issues as great as the Monster High ones. So clearly there's a huge market for Monster High, and I don't know if Mattel realized the market would be this huge. And there's been a lot of issues. I anticipated the Voltageous release would be difficult. This is Voltageous. I had 5 different devices going. I had my stepdad, my mom, myself, my phone, and my mom's friend, and we managed to get 1 Voltageous doll. And I figured that was what was going to happen, but I thought maybe we'd get at least 2 so I could send one to one of my friends, but no. 1 Voltageous doll. And we're all experts at this at online shopping when stuff first comes out, but that's how rough that website was. And I'm not saying like, oh, we're the best, we can beat anything, but clearly there's a huge botting issue, there's a huge scalper issue, there's a way larger market for these dolls than anticipated. And even after scalping, they're selling for scalped prices. It's a lot. So that's a little bit of background on the current state of the Monster High reboot that's happening. And then they've made a movie, which is coming out next month? No, it's coming out in October. It's coming out early October. I think October like 5th, not the 13th for some reason. I don't know. They are creating a new TV show, which we've seen photos from the TV show, and here they are. So they're just like pictures of the cast with their characters, and we've seen 1 sneak peek at the dolls. I showed them earlier, but here they are. These were posted officially on... This photo was found on a Mattel graphic designer's page, so it seems like they were making a social media campaign for the dolls, but for some reason it fell through, but the image still exists. And that's really compelling evidence to me that this was at least a plan for the dolls at some point. They're clearly early stage mock-ups. You can see some like weird editing spots and some things with the dolls, but I'm pretty confident the dolls are going to look at least something like this. And those dolls actually ship out to stores in a month. I actually really like them personally. If they look like that, sold. Like I really like those. But there's a huge disconnect between the market for these sorts of things and the almost non-existent market for those reboot dolls. Unfortunately, people are not interested in them, and I want to get a bit into why. 1, people like to blindly hate anything that's new. It's not new to do that. Littlest Pet Shop gets it really, really bad. People have decided that the only good Littlest Pet Shops are the G2/G3. There's weird labeling. It depends on I think it's the logo change, actually. With Hasbro, when the logo changes, that's a new generation. But so the reboot Littlest Pet Shops look like this. These are like the most recent reboot. I love these. These are so cool. So this is Jade Catkin, one of my all-time favorite Littlest Pet Shops, and I'm from the childhood set of people who had the original Littlest Pet Shops. And then this is my favorite Littlest Pet Shop from the original run. And you can see that although slightly different, they actually fit in quite well. And I used to make a lot of videos on TikTok about how much I adored these, because I just think they're exceptional, and I will scream their praises from the rooftops. They're fantastic, and I just believed so much in them. But no matter what, they are slightly different, so people can't even give them a chance. And I don't think, when I say this, I don't think that people should think the same way I do, or that they have to like the new thing. But when I say these are actually really great quality, people will attack me for it. It's bizarre. People just don't like new things, and that's not new. It happens with everything. But I just think it's funny when Hasbro actually listened to fan criticism and went back to the original mold, but honestly better. They're not using these original sculpts. They created all new sculpts, and there's so many for each species. So for cats, there were like 6 sculpts at launch, which is a lot. So you weren't just getting a million cats in this exact same pose, you were getting way more than that. And this is one of the poses, and look at like the tail. And the paint quality also came back. The nose area on this one is sprayed. Like they actually returned to their original form. They're not doing those weird flat colors that people don't like, which I actually like. I don't mind them at all. And they brought back the like realistic animals while still having some fantasy ones, but blinded by hatred. And I think that's really sad. I don't think anybody really acknowledges what happened with these, because truly this was one of the only cases I've ever seen where a toy company went back on almost a decade of completely ignoring their fan base, which if their fan base is just a vocal minority who isn't really affecting their sales at all, then sure, ignore them. Like, it is what it is. You're a company, I get it. But they listened and they weren't rewarded for it at all. So I feel so bad because these are actually so cool. And one of the best things, at least in the, I hate this term, but the girls' toy market, these were one of the best things that Hasbro has done in so long. And in general, listening to fan criticism is not a thing in the girls' toy market. And again, I say just girls because that's what the companies call it, and it's the distinction. Girls being like Dolls, Littles, Pet Shops, My Little Ponies, that kind of stuff. I don't agree with the terminology either, but it's just how they do it. With boys' properties, they love the adult collector, they trust them, they want to appease them, they go out of their way to appease them. And it's weird because, and I'm not even saying female identifying collectors make up a lot of the market. I'm saying people who enjoy just anything that's marked under the girls section at Walmart has a huge collector base and always has. If you've looked at My Little Pony, insane collector base, and I'm not talking about G4, I'm talking about G1, G2, not G2, rest in peace G2, G3, there's always been a pretty huge collector base behind it, but they're just completely underrepresented and companies do not care. I've talked to toy designers before, they tell me collectors probably influence like 5% of the market, and maybe that's true, I don't know. I don't know the true numbers, but I don't believe that's the case because of what we're seeing right now with what's going on with Monster High. And Monster High is a very, very popular brand, but clearly there's something to this. And if you see how popular toy videos are, and I'm not just talking about the ones marketed at kids, there's clearly a pretty large collector market, and collectors I feel like are the ones that are going to continue coming back and amassing insane collections and buying everything that you produce. So I'm not trying to be high and mighty, like I'm the market, you need to appease me, you need to make exactly what I want to make, but I think that companies are undervaluing collectors, I guess, and a big example of a company that's not undervaluing collectors, in some ways that they are. In some ways they are. But a company that specifically targets collectors and kind of like older kids and lets them do the work of promoting their products and stuff is MGA. And look how successful they are. And I know these are insanely popular with children, but they're also insanely popular with adults. I've actually met plenty of adults in my life that own at least one MGA doll product, and they're not into dolls. They were like, that's cool. So there's a power to it, and it doesn't even have to be a full-time collector, but especially right now, this collector bubble will pop, and I can't wait for it to pop because then all the dolls and toys will be cheaper again and I could gather them up and I'll be a lot happier. But when the collector bubble pops, that'll also hurt the market because collectors are a big part of the market. And I'm not an economist, I can't tell you an exact number, but I feel like they're very underrepresented, especially now. I don't know when this 5% number came to be, probably around 2010, but I don't know. I feel like, especially with the rise of social media, alternative lifestyles, stupid term, but whatever, alternative lifestyles have become a lot more acceptable, and people care less about what other people in public think of them, so I don't know. That's just some food for thought on that. I'm gonna move on from that. All right, so how I would structure a reboot. First of all, I would actually leave the reboot dolls. These, they look great. Go ahead. Or, you know, do these. Cool. Now, there's a few things about the reboot that I'm worried about. We haven't seen much of the reboot yet. We got like one leak, and we were like, yes, finally, a leak. I want to talk about what made Monster High successful and why I'm worried about the current reboot. So, in the previous reboot, most of what made Monster High special was actually kept. Monster High released in 2010. Well, I have an example. Monster High released in 2010 with these dolls. These dolls were nothing like anything else ever seen on the market. There were other dolls that were not explicitly human and were kind of different in that sense. There were catwalk kitties, there were shimmers, there were other attempts at this before, but no company had ever managed something like Monster High happening. Monster High was a cultural phenomenon. It completely shifted the entire dynamic of the entire doll space forever. It will never be the same after Monster High. Monster High launched with fully articulated dolls. They came with doll stands. They all had really high quality hair, usually multiple colors in it too at launch. They came with diaries that told you about the characters. They had these really eye-catching boxes. They had a really fierce social media campaign. In 2010, I was growing up. I wasn't into toys anymore. I still had my Littlest pet shops and really liked them, but that was it. And I wasn't actively getting more dolls, not dolls. I wasn't into dolls at all as a kid even, but I was actively growing out of toys. But Monster High hooked me because their media campaign wasn't just, look, we released dolls. It was, are you dying to know more? Go to monsterhigh.com, and it would just be like a little sneak of like a cool animation or some little game they had on their website, and it got me. It hooked me in. And it got me into dolls. Monster High is the reason that I like dolls today. I would not be interested in dolls at all if it weren't for Monster High. And it had that effect on a lot of people. I was, because of Monster High, I started being interested in toys again. I got into My Little Pony in 2011, again, because I was into My Little Pony as a kid. And then I slowly was like, I can't buy a doll, I can't buy a doll, I can't buy a doll. I'm 12, I'm too old for dolls, which is hilarious thinking back on that now. But, and I really wanted Toralei. I decided, because I loved the Monster High show, I was like, okay, I have to get Toralei. And I couldn't find her, so I got Abby. But that's kind of like, Monster High had that effect on so many people. They came with pets. Their concepts were really cool. They were something really almost never seen before and never fully realized like this. Their outfits were super cool. Were they the quality of a Bratz doll outfit? No, but the designs were. Monster High, people act like it was a super high quality doll line, and in some ways it was, but mostly it was the design quality that carried Monster High. You also got a lot of, like, they were just really cool. This marketing always works on me. If you like the Frankie doll, and if you want to play with your Frankie doll, you need to buy their friends. Look, Laguna, the sea monster. Laguna really, really is helpful, and if you watch the movie, you can see that Frankie learns a lot from Laguna, so if you don't have Laguna, your Frankie will feel so lonely. And you need to get Claudine and Draculaura. That's their entourage. If they don't have Frankie and if they don't have Claudine and Draculaura, then they don't have their beast ghoul friend. Like, genius marketing. Genius, and it works so well on me. All of that to say, Monster High was doing so many things. Oh, also, extremely competitive price point. $25 for these was kind of a lot at the time. It wasn't excessive, but, you know, it was up there, and this is coming out of the 2008 recession. But they also had slimline dolls that were packed. This is a little bit of a later release, but they had these since, was Skull Shores the first slimline? Really? No, Gloom Beach, duh. Gloom Beach. I don't have any Gloom Beach dolls out right now. The reason there's not a lot of Monster High dolls behind me, by the way, I have probably over 200. I moved, and I'm unpacking them. My empty store display. But anyway, they did slimline dolls that were $10 to $15 each. I think they normally hit around $12. That were just as high quality. They had everything that these had, except they wouldn't come with a diary. They still actually came with accessories like purses sometimes. Like, my first doll was Skull Shores Abby. She had her little key bracelet. She had a little postcard instead of a diary. She had a little, like, slushie or something. She had a big ol' hat. She had her swimsuit. She had a cover-up. She had her shoes. The point is that if you bought the full one, or if you got this for your kid for Christmas or something, and then you got this one for, like, a good report card or something, they were still getting a doll that, like, was basically identical. Just came with a little bit less stuff. It was so cool to me. Like, Scaris had the slim line, and then they had the main line. The main line came with a suitcase, which was pretty cool. They had more decked out outfits, and they had some kind of diary. Yeah, Skelita and Jennifer were the only ones that I bought at the time from that. But then the slim line didn't have all of that, but they had, the dolls were the same. It was just like the accessories and extra stuff that was different. And I think that's really novel and interesting. And even, I think very few doll lines that tried to piggyback off of Monster High, or who have tried to be successful since Monster High, have failed in not understanding that the budget line needs to be a funnel or a gateway into the deluxe line. And Monster High was a beautiful example of that. And I'm worried that with the reboot, we're going to lose the hair quality. We won't have Saran and Kanekalon. I know we won't have Kanekalon because Kanekalon's been discontinued, but we need to be seeing Saran. And it scares me because Barbie is also by Mattel, and their extra dolls, which are meant to compete with LOL OMG, which are using nylon on every single doll, half the time is using polypropylene, occasionally uses Saran, only sometimes. That's alarming because they're the same price point. Mattel has produced interesting competitors to other doll lines since. We've seen the DreamWorks She-Ra dolls were actually like, I don't think they were meant to compete with anything. They were just doing that for the show. Those were actually really gorgeous quality. I actually really liked those, and they were super well priced. They were like $15 each, I think. And in 2020, that was unheard of. Was it 2019? Somewhere in that range. I don't know. I bought them so long ago. It was my second apartment, so it was 2019 or 2020. Anyway. Cave Club very much impresses me, but it also worries me because I think that's what Monster High is going to hit quality-wise, and Cave Club's actually really nice. I'll defend Cave Club to the grave. They had super, super cool designs, similar to Monster High being a design-heavy, concept-focused line. Cave Club had that really well. They had really nice screenings. They weren't pixelated at all, actually, which I don't know why they won't extend that gratitude, or that same thing to Barbie, their flagship brand. Their hair was polypropylene was the biggest issue, but they were fully articulated too, and at the $12 to $15 each price point, I don't think Cave Club got enough credit for what it was doing. Even if they're a little bit like childish or whatever, they were really cool. Unfortunately, they did not succeed, and it's just because they don't quite have the staying power. Because if you got your kid, or you got a Cave Club doll yourself, and pretty quickly the hair started to deteriorate, you don't really have a lot of fun mixing and matching or playing with or displaying the dolls, then you're probably not going to buy another one. But with Monster High, they were so addictive. They marketed so well with the webisodes and the movies and the books and the comics and the anime. There was so much. It was an assault. Kind of like idol shows in Japan, like Love Live and Idolmaster and stuff. They are an assault on you from all places. Love Live has like live show acts with the voice actors. They have merchandise absolutely everywhere. There's people that don't care about the show or anything, but they just really like the merchandise. They like the culture of the merchandise. There's music. Even if you're not interested in the live performances, there's music. There's a game. There's actually 2 games now. There were like 3 or 4 at one point. There's also like, anyway, it's an assault on you from all stages, so they can get you anyway. If you weren't really into dolls or anything, but you just happen to be really interested in children's media, cool, we've just sold you a bunch of Monster High merchandise. You're not interested in dolls yet? You will be. Watch the show. You're not interested in children's, like, associated TV show type media? Fine. There's books, too. There's a really cool book series by Lissy Harrison. You know her. You like her work, don't you? Because you're 12 years old. Interesting. I'm not saying you have to be 12, but every 12-year-old has read Lissy Harrison, at least when I was in middle school. Anyway, my point is, like, Monster High was so genius, but I'm really worried because Mattel is relying exclusively on brand recognition, which is getting them far with things like this, as we've seen, but I don't think it's going to get them very far with the reboot, because the brand recognition is actually hurting them in that sense, because no matter what they do, people are going to trash it. No matter how hard they try to create something in the same spirit as Monster High, it will fall on deaf ears. Very few people will actually want to support it or give it a chance, which is fine. They don't have to give it a chance, but I just hate seeing unabashed hate. There's a leak, I can't show it to you, unfortunately, that got shown for one of the Monster High dolls a while ago. I can only show things that were found at, like, legal sources, unfortunately, for my YouTube channel's sake. There was a leak of a Cleo doll where she looked really good quality. Like, her face paint was really clean. There was compelling evidence that she had a different body type than the other dolls would. There were a ton of accessories. The clothing was actually really nice. The material quality was very impressive. Similar to this picture, the material quality was really, really good. Impressive looking. Like, in this picture, you can see some really nice material quality, not as many painted on details. And when I say printed on details, let's be clear, Monster High has always been a very printed on detail heavy line, but this doll is great. I would not have any issue with these printed on details. I feel like people get that skewed a little bit when they're kind of newer to collecting or just trying to be hateful. When printed on details become a problem, let me see. Oh wow, I was about to say this is an example, but she's not. But this is a good example to point out. So Abby has a fur trim here, printed dress, and a trim here. If this trim had been printed on instead of being a sewn on separate piece, which it is actually a sewn on separate piece if you look here, that would be annoying. That would be like a crappy quality point, it would not look very nice. And even though you can hardly tell that this is sewn on, you would be able to tell if it wasn't sewn on. And the fur too, they could have just printed on the fur. Wild Hearts Crew, hold on, I'll go get them. I'll go get Wild Hearts Crew is made by Mattel, actually made by a lot of Monster High designers. These were so cool, but every detail is printed on. We were lucky to get hems. This is egregious to me. This is a cuff on the pants that is printed on. None of that is sewn on. Everything is flat. No pockets, no seam here. It's a miracle that we are actually hemmed at the top and bottom. It's just, this is actually nice though. This is not printed on, it's ironed on. Here too, the zippers are foiled on detail. It's just, this, totally fine to be printed on. Even this pattern, I would prefer this be some kind of woven fabric, but you know, fine, you've printed that on. But you need something three-dimensional. My clothes have real trims, real buttons, real texture to them. So when you print on all texture, like this denim material texture, all of this fabric used on these is the same material, except we got like kind of a t-shirt knit or a jersey knit, maybe. Not really though. When you print on every single detail, you get weird, flat-looking dolls, and when you're marketing as a fashion doll versus, say, a doll of an actor wearing a specific outfit from a specific movie, you're losing what makes a fashion doll a fashion doll. I am not compelled to switch any of these outfits around. I'm not excited or inspired by any of these pieces. I do like this piece. This is the only piece that I think is usable out of this. So if I were a kid and I got these, I would put them down very quickly and I wouldn't want more. And there's lots of kids that value different things. There's lots of collectors that value different things. For me, the reason I wanted these and added them to my collection is because I heavily value concepts. And associated media, there wasn't any media for these, unfortunately, but concept-driven lines like Monster High were what got me into dolls. They are what excite me. They are what interest me in dolls. All right, now I want to talk about what I would do if I were the big boys at Mattel and I was planning a Mattel Creations line. Again, leaving the reboot alone. I want the reboot the way it is. I would do a lot more promotion. The reboot dolls are actively shipping to stores right now, and there's lots of evidence of that online. You can find it. They're actively shipping out right now. There are Amazon listings, Amazon Canada. There are live listings. I'm not going to link them because I don't know if they are truly going to ship you what you think they're going to ship you, but the Monster High coffin bean playset for the reboot is showing up on Amazon Canada, so they're shipping out right now. Monster High dolls are going to be hitting stores within the next month. We haven't seen anything. We've seen a couple of pictures of the show. We haven't even seen the animation from it yet. Some people have seen the movie, but the movie hasn't really been promoted that much either. It's coming out relatively soon. They're not promoting this at all. They're promoting these, kind of. These are doing well based off of word of mouth and brand recognition, but the reboot won't. I think Mattel's not seeing a difference. So first, actually promote it. Please stop, because Bratz is doing the same thing. They don't promote them at all. They're relying exclusively on the collectors that are dedicated and are begging for new content, and they're just like, we'll throw you a bone someday, just stay tuned. It's weird. I don't know why they just blatantly ignore and Monster High's doing the same thing, but reversed. They're doing it to the playline. The playline needs promotion. The kids need to see these hit shelves. Why was Monster High not at Sweet Sweet? I know those dolls are done. They're shipping to stores this week. Why were you not at Sweet Sweet? Why are you not doing commercials? Why is TTPM not posting about you? Why is the Toy Insider not posting about you? Why are big YouTube channels not posting about you? What is going on? What's going on? It's bizarre. Because collectors sell out, sure, but those are way smaller unit sizes. Those are anticipated collector releases, and those are made in the original style that you know people are after right now. There's a huge collector bubble. Everybody wants to collect dolls because they think it's cool and in vogue right now, which is fine. You can rely on those selling. I don't think you can rely on it with the reboot. Maybe it'll work on the first reboot line, but unless these dolls are golden, like these. And again, I don't think these are the bastions of the best quality dolls in the world. Monster High half the time had really terrible screenings. Their eyes would be completely misplaced. Often they had pretty bad box hair. I mean, there were a lot of issues. They had a lot of printed on details all the time. The materials they used weren't always the best, but they had so many things going for them that none of that really mattered. They weren't trying to be Bratz. which is awesome because everything since Bratz has tried to be Bratz, and everything since Monster High has tried to be Monster High. And as soon as they branched out and did something different, LOL OMG, Rainbow High, they succeeded. And I think Monster High could come back. There is definitely a hole in the market where Monster High used to be, and I think Monster High could be successful again, but they have to at least be similar. I know this is a different world and a different doll market, but on the same shelves as Rainbow High and LOL OMG, Monster High is going to crash and burn, and I don't want to see that. I love Monster High. It's always meant the world to me ever since I was 10 years old and I first found it, 11 years old and I first found it. I don't know the exact month in 2010 that I first discovered it, sorry. I remember what Adventure Time episode premiered, actually. I think it was the premiere of the one where Marceline takes Finn and Jake's treehouse home, which is like season 1 of Adventure Time. So possibly the premiere of that episode, but I don't know if it was the actual premiere or if it was a rerun. I don't know. But anyway, the original reboot, I was actually fully on board. I really liked these. Some of them are a bit questionable. I'm not really... Draculaura, Frankie, and a couple of others look a little off. I think Cleo and Laguna actually look better than the original dolls. The original dolls were heavily prone to eye wonk, and they were always misplaced, and I feel like the screenings didn't always fit the faces very well. But with the reboot dolls, they rocked. And not all of them had the smiles. This is Abby's reboot face. Absolutely gorgeous. They fixed Toralei. They gave her nose. I don't know why she never had her nose in the other dolls. It was weird. She was the only werecat that didn't have it. And the Shriek Wreck dolls, I stand by it, are one of the best Monster High lines ever released in terms of quality, in terms of designs. They were really cool. And a lot of the dolls maintain the quality. This is a slimline reboot doll, so priced around $15, probably less. Saran hair, fully detailed outfit. She came with this gimmick where she had these little things that you could pop into different parts of her outfit, so she had a play feature of some sort. The reboot just kind of focused on more play features, but also they introduced new bodies, which were so cool. They were a little bit more substantial. I prefer these bodies by far, so I'm really curious about the reboot because there's rumors that they have more substantial bodies again. They added different body style things, so Cleo now had mummy wraps on her body. Frankie, did they do anything for Frankie? I think they made the stitches on their body raised, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But anyway, my point is, like, they did a lot of really interesting stuff for the reboot. The fur on Claudine and Abby, because Abby's a Yeti. Cleo actually was, like, had some kind of monster feature because she really didn't in G1. Occasionally her design included mummy wraps that were obviously mummy wraps. Most of the time, no, she was just kind of an Egyptian woman. I don't know. I think they just wanted a doll that they could be like, if you're not into monsters, this one's pretty person looking. I don't know. But anyway, my point is, I think the reboot is heavily and harshly misunderstood. If you don't like the faces, you don't like the faces. There's no changing that. But not liking the faces is an excuse to lie about the quality dropping, because it really didn't very much. This one, unfortunately, has no printed detail on the back, which is funny to me because I don't think it would cost any more. Like, per unit, maybe like 1 cent more to actually print the design on both sides. It's very weird that they don't do that. I would think it would cost more because you gotta sew 2 different types of fabric here, but I don't know. I don't know. They did switch to some more papery materials. Like, I'm not gonna kid myself and claim that they didn't change anything, but people were being very dramatic about the reboot. But it's because people really love Monster High, and I understand that. And I'm scared that I'm gonna have to watch it slowly die again, or very quickly die again, because there's no way, as it is now, unless what's shipping to shelves right now is excellent, is fantastic, and I don't know if it's gonna be. And it's really sad because I'm here as a ride or die. These dolls, no matter what, I'm going to support them. Even if they're the same quality as Cave Club for $25 each, I'm here for them. I really love them. I'm very excited about it. From what I've seen, I'm head over heels for them, but I'm worried that they're not going to survive in the market that's currently here, because even other amazing doll lines that have released during the reign of LOL OMG and Rainbow High haven't been able to do it, because we've had Cave Club, we've had Hairmazing. There's so many really interesting little doll lines that have cropped up and just haven't been able to compete, because MGA is actually oh, hi, my cat's here to say hello. Hi, my little werecat. I feel like MGA actually listens to what the consumer wants, and a lot of there's a big difference. MGA is a private company and Mattel is publicly traded. That's a huge distinction in terms of the marketing strategies. But the collectors are going to be picky and ask for way too much. I completely understand that. You don't have to really listen to them that much. They'll just say things sometimes, myself included. But if you don't listen at all and decide, like Barbie has, Barbie's current meta is kids don't care about quality. We just want the, like, grandparent buying something for the birthday to see Barbie logo and buy it, and that's what's gonna happen. We don't really have to try because we're Barbie. We're the doll. We don't have to try very hard, and now they're slowly trying again, but you're still not seeing enough of the budget put in. MGA seems to have more of a philosophy of, we're gonna put way more budget into each doll, so we'll sell more units of those dolls, and Mattel's just like, we're gonna put the least amount of budget as possible into each doll so that we make the most off of each doll, so hopefully some of them sell, which is sad. And Barbie is still selling. They're still making money off of Barbie, but I don't know how many kids or adults would say that Barbie is their favorite in its current state on the shelves, and that's very sad because people think I don't like Barbie because I do trash Barbie quite a bit, but I trash her so much because her current state is heartbreaking to see as somebody who really likes Barbie. I wasn't a doll person as a kid, but I had some Barbies and they were glorious. I just didn't like playing with dolls was very clunky. Doll stands weren't really a thing. I didn't like that they would just fall over, and to set them up to play, it's just like enormous furniture and stuff, and I just wasn't into it. I've completely changed, as you can see. I love dolls now, but that's because of Monster High. I also didn't like that Barbies, like, if you wanted to sit them in their chair, it would be like this. And that was not, or sorry, they have bend and snap knees. It would be like this. I didn't like that. But with Monster High, everything that I didn't like about dolls as a kid that made them not interesting to me to play with completely changed. And now that's the default for dolls. That's the standard. LOLOMG is the current dominator in the market. Oh, okay. Let's get to the crux of this video, the thing that inspired me to make it. What I would do going forward with Monster High, reproductions, I buy them, so clearly they're doing something for me. Monster High and Bratz, I'm buying the reproductions, I'm enjoying them. But I think what would be better, or you could supplement reproductions by creating dolls either that were never designed for lines, so for example, a Donna the Dance Abby or something. That would be really interesting to see, or unused concepts. Those are always really interesting to people. If you did a re-release of the classroom dolls, and even if they didn't come with their lockers and stuff, like the Black Friday version of the classroom dolls, and you released that Drama Club Draculaura, here's the concept for her. Not only would that catch collectors that bought the original ones, a lot of collectors aren't super into reproductions because they already have the originals. Why would they want a crappier version? These were actually quite good though. But you would get a lot of attention for, oh, this doll never existed before and I could only get her right now. That would be super interesting to me, and I wish they would do that more. Like with Bratz, what if they made like an Express It style Fiona? That would be really cool, right? I don't know. That's what I would do. And the funny thing is that Mattel has done it. They've actually done it with Masters of the Universe, and these are the only ones that I own though, Street Sharks. These are, I don't even know if these were publicly known about, honestly. I'm passively into Street Sharks. I think it's super cool. Me and Brett love the show. My dad was interested in it when I was a kid, so I had kind of that brand recognition. I've got my original Moby Lick right there. I used to have him in box, but the box kind of got shredded, so we flattened the box so we could preserve it. But anyway, this is Clambo, and this is from the Mattel Creations Concepts of Creation line. It's a bit of a tongue twister, Creations Creation. But anyway, what this is a produced version of a character and a figure that never got a figure back then. So it says in early concept sketches, the Street Sharks military-themed villain was known as Clambo. This half-man, half-oyster, known in the series as Clamando, appeared in the animation but was never actually produced as a figure. The early character study and this Bill Bennick, maybe Bennicky, designed recreation both include a camouflage shell and multiple automatic weapons, just like the animated character, which they actually spelled wrong. I didn't know this. This is animated. The Toothy Sneer didn't quite translate into 2D, but it's celebrated here in all of its jawsome glory. And then this is a quote from the designer, Bill Bennick, I'm sorry. On one early sketch, I noticed the clamshell camo pattern, and in another design sketch, the character had a bandana tied around his eye stalks. There were too many wonderful sight gags to pass up by adhering strictly to one sketch, so they got synthesized into one figure. And then this is a sketch from what looks like 1991 of Clambo. And then we see the figure. So instead of doing reproductions of Street Sharks, because you can just buy them on eBay for a little bit more, with Monster High, the reproductions are a little different because there's a collecting bubble right now. They're really expensive on eBay. But with Street Sharks, it's not really the case. But this is a fully realized, unreleased figure of a character that was never produced at all. And if you watched the show, you'd be familiar. Like, it's just a really cool idea. It's got that amazing plastic smell. These were very expensive also. I don't know if they sold out immediately, to be honest, but I think that's more of a virtue of them being Street Sharks, which not a lot of people even know exists. I have opened these before, by the way, I'm not just... And yeah, this is, I mean, hold on just a second. Street Sharks were kind of similar to Masters of the Universe, where they all had fun gimmicks. I'm not gonna do this one, but Moby Lick's tongue moves in a really uncomfortable looking way. And this is an original Street Sharks figure. And then this one has the same thing going on. You can open up his clamshell, and that's his play feature, and you can see that he's got this, like, belt of bullets. I'm blanking on what you would call that. And yeah, so he's, like, fully... Sorry, he's been in the box for a while, so he's having trouble moving, but just... It's kind of just like these. He doesn't have the squishy body, though, but... I mean... I can display these together. So it's like, it's a love letter to the longtime collectors, because now people that have a Street Sharks collection can have a whole lineup of them, and they need this to complete it. And as long as you keep a reasonably similar quality, especially in terms of the appearance of the figure, it's so cool. So now people who have been collecting Street Sharks for however long they've been collecting Street Sharks can add a new figure to the collection. Instead of just buying another Moby Lick, they can get another one, or like another Ripster. They did do a release of a Ripster design. We didn't buy the Ripster one. We were super not doing good with money at the time, so we had to make a sacrifice, and we chose to get the 2 new characters, because as we collect more Street Sharks, we would be the most sad if these were not accessible to us anymore. And then this one is my favorite. Clambo's Brett's favorite, but this is Carcass. But yeah, these are like, I really wanted to talk about Street Sharks, guys. On my doll channel, I can't just talk about whatever I want, but in this Monster High themed video, this is tangentially related. I actually think this is very related. With a toy line that's for boys, it's in the boys section of the store, they feel confident to do things like this and produce things like this. I'm not sure if this was super successful. I imagine they did sell all the units eventually and they didn't have to clearance them or anything, but it wasn't an immediate sellout or anything. But it is Street Sharks. With Masters of the Universe, I'm sure they do amazing. I don't know. But anyway, my point is, why are they giving a chance to Street Sharks, but they won't give that same chance to Monster High with concepts of creation? Because there's plenty of concepts that were unused. Plenty of them. And that's just the ones that we've seen. So, I don't know. With reproductions, it just kind of gets old. Bratz is making reproductions, and I'll continue buying them because I'm a big doll collector. I have a doll channel. Fear that with Bratz and Monster High both, the reproductions are going to get old. Eventually they're going to start doing dolls that, like, everybody has. Express It Megan, why are you reproducing her? She's not hard to get at all. You could probably get her pretty much complete for the same price as the reproduction, and sure, she won't be, like, brand new condition, but I don't know. It's kind of bizarre. I understand reproducing dolls like Kiana, allegedly, with Megan and Kiana. I understand with Kiana because she's a really expensive character, but wouldn't it have been cooler to see Kiana in, like, a new line, or maybe reimagined into an older line or something? I think that would be a lot more interesting and get a lot more attention and be a lot more fun in general. But yeah, I think I've run out of steam. Hopefully any of this stuff made sense. I just wanted to pour my heart out about Monster High. I wanted to talk about my cool Street Sharks figures because these are really rad. I really like them, and Let me know if you like Street Sharks. I'm interested. Because it is very rare that I buy a collector series thing because, I don't know. Generally, collector series things are just not up to the quality standard or the price point, but the reason for that is that the unit size on these is way smaller, and they're not getting, like, they're not going to be on store shelves. So, on one hand, they're making a larger profit margin in terms of, like, they don't have to pay the vendor for selling the thing, but also they have to pay a lot more per unit because they're making a lot less of them, so I do understand why the price is higher, but... for me, as a consumer, it's not ideal to have the price be higher, and that's what's going on with the Monster High dolls, too. I'm not here to defend the prices. They're ludicrous. By the way, the reason the box is still like this is because, I didn't find the doll. I unboxed them. So, this is just the box. I've unpacked the box with the empty boxes, but I have not unpacked the box with this doll in it, so hee. It's just a prop for this video. But the reason that these are priced so high is because they don't make hundreds of thousands of units like they did with these, or even like 50,000 units. They made a lot less than that. So these are priced higher on that virtue. It costs more per unit if you make less of them, because with this doll, they ordered an unbelievable amount of the materials to make this doll. So it costs less per doll because of that, because the more of something you buy, you're buying it in bulk, you're getting a cheaper price. It's the whole concept of Costco and Sam's, and just wholesaling in general. It's a better option. But with Monster High, with these, they're trying to make a collector one, but they also can't make as many because they know it won't sell that many units. And maybe it would if it was on shelves like 2 years into the production of the line, but yeah, that's why these are priced a little higher. I don't know how many of these they made, but they clearly made a lot more of them because I was in New York at the time, and I found them at I think 4 different stores out of the 10 plus that I checked. So they weren't in every store, but there were a lot of them in each store that they were in, so there were quite a few of these. There were probably like 10,000 plus, and with these, I don't know. I wish they would tell us the edition size, but it's probably around 3,000 if that. So the price discrepancy is strange, but this is supposed to prime you up for the Monster High reboot. This is supposed to remind you that Monster High exists and get you excited, and maybe you'll go buy these. Maybe you'll go buy the reboot dolls. I don't know. They're just hoping for something. Anyway, that's it. I had a lot of thoughts about Monster High that I've been thinking about lately because I'm worried about where Shadow High is going, and yes, MGA is likely specifically trying, like, they know Monster High is coming back, and I think they're a little scared. I have no problem with companies feuding and releasing things to try to compete with one another. I think it's weird to bootleg for companies, to be honest. They're not paying you. They're releasing dolls that you have to purchase to own. Like, and them competing is a good thing because if nobody was competing with Barbie, it would be a lot worse than they are now. They would be a lot worse. We would be seeing Barbies like we did in 2018 and 2017. And even this year with competition, a lot of the Barbie dolls are not doing much for anybody. It's bizarre to me. And again, I feel the need to say this even though I shouldn't. I don't think that every doll needs to be made for me. I don't think every single doll needs to be something that I will enjoy. But it's pretty clear when something is just hasn't hit with anybody. Like, nobody's seeing it. And the things that end up on clearance generally are the more popular products. I know this is a bit backward, but a lot of products that end up on clearance are because it was so popular that the store ordered way more of it than they should have, so they end up with extra and they need to sell off the clearance in order to put more on the shelf. With certain dolls, such as Barbie, you can see dolls on the shelves that have been there for 2 or 3 years sometimes, still retail priced, because they don't really have others that they want to put in their place. They're not really interested in filling the spot. It'll sell eventually, whatever. But with spots like the Rainbow High spot or the LOLOMG spot or other popular brands like that, they want to put a bunch of those on the shelves. They're going to sell really fast, and yes, they sell very fast. Oh my god. As a collector who checks the stores first, sometimes I have trouble getting things at release from these brands. They sell. They get out of that store. They are gone, and that's why the stores keep ordering more. But when Walmart orders way more than there's actually a market for in the area, there's going to be extra. They got to put them on clearance. It's understandable. And they're priced quite high, so a lot of people aren't going to buy them until they're on clearance. Monster High was the same way. So I see a lot of, it's mostly newer people in the community will be like, oh, this is on clearance, interesting. And it's like, Monster High lived in the clearance section. I was buying almost exclusively off the clearance section with Ever After High and Monster High, and those dolls were doing fine. They lived in the clearance section. That's where they were.
I need to clarify this, but different companies have different standards for what counts as succeeding. So with Monster High, they actually were selling quite well throughout their run, including the times that they were on clearance. And I speak about this a lot. The reason that Monster High rebooted in the first place was because sales were slowing down. But the reason sales were slowing down is because Monster High was putting way too much onto the shelves, so it was starting to make the brand look less desirable because everything was always on clearance and there were always a million of the dolls. The facade that they were super highly sought after and hard to get was gone, so there was no reason to go to the stores first to go pick them up unless you just happened to want them first. With Rainbow High, I can't obviously know how well they're doing in terms of the sales, but they're clearly doing really, really well. They're clearly the dominant doll brand right now, along with LOLOMG.
Every single doll at Target and Walmart had clearance stickers all over them. And it's because they wanted to make room for more, because Monster High is a cash cow, so if they price them down a little bit, they're still making money off of each unit, but they're clearing them out so that they can put the next ones out and everyone will buy them the second they hit the shelves. Because that's how Monster High was. Monster High was... It was a cultural phenomenon. It was a thing. Anyway. For real this time. I'd love to know what you guys think about any of this stuff, but if you're just here to trash the reboot, again, it's clearly not what the subject of this video is, but I anticipate it. I'm not gonna listen to it. Like, I don't care. I'm sorry. Like, it's fine that you don't like it and you can tell me why you don't like it, but if you're just like, that's stupid and it sucks and you're not a real Monster High fan for liking it. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. For real this time. Bye. Make sure you say goodbye to Clambo. And Carcass. Okay, for this time. Bye.